Hi, I'm Brett Jennings, and for the last 12 years, I've traveled the country to meet, mentor, and mastermind with some of the brightest and best minds both inside and outside of real estate. I've taken those ideas, brought them back to our team of experts, and sold hundreds of homes per year all across Silicon Valley, and this is how we do it.
Okay, everyone, thanks for jumping on and joining. I'm really excited today. We've got a great panel lined up for you. Our topic for today's top agent panel is to learn how to successfully grow a team. We're really lucky to have Nicole Solari on the line, joined by Eric Boyenga, Joe Velasco, and Brett Jennings. So we're going to hear from each one of them about the trials and tribulations they went through to grow a successful team. And I actually think the best way to start out this panel is I'd love to hear from our four panelists just a little bit about your background, the size of your business, and where you are located geographically. So Nicole, if I can start with you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your team and the number of transactions that you do on a typical year?
Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm Nicole Solari. I'm out of the Napa Solano market in Northern California. Been in the business for 6 years now, and our volume averages around 150 million, doing between 3 and 350 units per year. We have a buyer's agent team of 5, and I handle all of the listings, and then we have a support staff who help manage all of that as well.
Awesome. It's great. Thanks for sharing. Let's move on to Joe. Joe, let's hear a little bit about where you're located, the size of your team, and something that makes your business unique.
Yeah, sure. So I'm based out of Los Gatos. Been here a little less than 6 months. Originally was out of the Palo Alto, Los Altos area. In terms of my business, it's spread out, Silicon Valley, Peninsula. I would say it's literally from South San Francisco all the way down to Gilroy. I kind of follow along the 85-280 corridor. Occasionally I'll do some business on the East Bay. Usually I refer it out. My team is 2 sales agents. I won't necessarily call them buyer's agents because they also jump on listing opportunity, and we work that out. So 2 sales agents and one full-time admin, and then I also have my wife, who's a project coordinator. That's kind of what makes it a little bit unique about my business. I'm also a developer. Currently I'm developing 16 homes throughout the Bay Area, and what she does primarily is a lot of the checks and balances with the accounting, and then also works pretty heavy on design. But that's primarily what she does, the accounting and design on our new construction developments, and also our remodels. So I also create a lot of my own inventory, which I think makes it unique. And of course I charge myself a full 6%.
I love it. Thanks for the share. Good to know. And I like you keep it in the family too.
Yeah.
All right, Eric. Let's hear from Eric Baienga. Eric, on the line.
So I work out of kind of overlapping with Brett and Joe out of Silicon Valley, and mostly focused in the good school districts. Been in the business about, God, too long, 25 years now. And started as a husband and wife team and kind of evolved over time with the admin. Now our team is 14 agents, including my wife, and it is an admin, a marketing director, and then a TC in-house. And that's about it for our staff. Most of our business is, we're focused on really building the higher price points, and we really use data to leverage our business as much as possible. So that's kind of the big key to our success in the past few years, is really focusing on ways to increase a higher sales price. So a higher average sales price is kind of key.
Data first. I like it.
Absolutely.
Good to know. And then let's hear from Brett Jennings. Brett Jennings is actually, I'm from Real Estate Experts, and Brett Jennings is Real Estate Expert. So this is my broker. But Brett, let's hear a little bit about your team and your background for those who don't know.
Sure. Yeah, you know, when we put this panel together, I was feeling like a bit humbled, you know, because it's cool when who are once your mentors, you know, and people that you're aspiring to become your peers, because both Joe and Eric have been in the business a lot longer than I have, and I've watched them from afar and got the opportunity to, you know, network with them and get ideas from them, and now to be on the same playing field. It's cool. So, but as far as the ties of our team, I have a team, Brett Jennings group, and that is comprised of myself and three partner agents, um, which do mostly buyers. I do mostly listings. I take that back. I have one listing specialist, so four of us, one listing specialist and three buyers agents, and we'll do about 125 million for about 100 transactions with the four of us. And then second to that, I have what we run here called at Real Estate Experts. I liken it or say it's akin to a teamerage, which is a little bit different than a team. It's more like a brokerage because we have independent agents who, you know, are seasoned and do that, but they get more support than they typically would at a traditional brokerage. And then we have, I think now, about 30 partners that are at Real Estate Experts, some of which have their own teams. But my own team is 4 agents, and then we leverage the administrative and marketing staff here. So yeah.
Great. Thanks for sharing. Okay, well, I want to kick off with our first question. And because, Brett, you shared that you had been watching both Joe and Eric's career from afar when you got started, I think I want to start with Eric. So if you could go back to your younger self when you first started building a team, what would you say to curb the mistakes that you may have made, and what were those?
Well, I think it's just making the first leap with your first admin. I mean, that alone was tough. And then also being able to let go of some of the control. So your first buyer's agent is tough as well, because you're all of a sudden giving up some of this kind of OCD control that I like to have. So that is typically, you know, really the toughest thing is making that first leap. And then secondly, you know, you can't expect the people you bring under you to take the business the same as you do as the team leader. So I think that's tough, but I think, you know, the reality is, you know, without a team today, you're in real trouble, because really consumers demand a team. And that's the reality. Is it's not something I chose to do. It's more of consumer driven for me to build a team, because I just can't possibly get back to people in a timely manner and be able to, you know, give them the guidance they deserve. So I think that's why people build teams today, is they don't really have a choice. If you're not building a team, you're going to shrink and disappear naturally.
Right. And you said your first key hire was a solid assistant.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, Joe, from there, how does your kind of getting started building a team, does it differ? What are some of the missteps you made early on, and what advice would you give your younger self to have expedited your path to a successful team?
Sure. You know, I think that Eric brought a good point. You know, fortunately, I took that leap really early of hiring, you know, an admin and grew it. I used to have a real estate company that I sold in 2007, but I grew it to 400 agents, and it was pretty big, you know, throughout the Bay Area. But I think Bill Gates wrote, you know, in his book exactly what, you know, Eric just mentioned, that you can't do it alone. It's impossible. And if you think you can, you're a fool. You're going to diminish, you know. So I think, you know, to be successful and to build a team, the very first thing you got to do is invest in that admin, because there's so much day-to-day paperwork that you do that you're way too expensive for that. And you've earned that. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way to any admin. I just, you know, there's so much to do that really needs to be delegated, you know, as well as letting go even of TCs, you know, and having someone separately do your transaction work. I think one of the mistakes that I did when I first got started is I had my assistant be the transaction coordinator, the, you know, marketing director, and it's a disaster. You know, don't ever do that, you know. So I would say that's one of them. I think we're supposed to talk about 3, so I'll go fast. I think the second mistake that I made, and and I still haven't done it, so it's probably, but I know it works because I see Brett and I see, Boyenga from, far, and they're freaking killing it, is I don't really do any digital marketing at all outside of social media. I'm kind of a little bit old school, and it's something that's been working for me, and I just stick to that. I'm mainly just mail. I wish that I had mailed sooner, and captured a bigger farm than I have, because it's a proven method. Farming works, and it's always worked, and it hasn't stopped working. I, truth be told, I think I have 5 Zillow reviews. I never even asked a client after to give me a review on Zillow. I just keep going, and it works for me. But I know that it's very, very powerful, and I'm not telling anyone not to do it. So I think I could have been a bigger team. I could have done more volume, probably be doing quadruple of what I'm doing, but I'm happy with where I'm at. But I think it's one mistake that I haven't jumped onto the Zillow, sourcing or digital marketing. Just been doing the same thing, for a long time, probably about, 10 years of farming. But I wish I would have started, 20 years ago of farming, and been controlling certain markets that, under individuals are doing phenomenal, like, Ken De Leon and Palo Alto, that got started way, after a lot of us did, and proven that it's, phenomenal what he does, and it works. I think the third thing that I can, talk about is, definitely, I have a big heart, and I think I probably sometimes, work too much and do the work of, admin or marketing director or someone else, that it's really not my job. But I think I give too many chances. So I think one of the things that I should be doing is definitely firing sooner, hiring faster. But I just, I hate firing people, I do, and I have, but I don't like to, and it's not fun for me. It's not fun for me to tell someone they're doing a shitty job, but wish I could do that way sooner, because my life would be better. And that goes for my clients, and I'm sure everyone here on this panel at some point wish they would have fired their seller. And they're not fun to work with. They make your life miserable, sometimes, and that goes with them as well. So I definitely feel that, the same that I can talk about administrative support, same thing I can talk about even house cleaners, stagers, etc. Sometimes I feel like I'm being kind and I just, probably a little bit more lax, than I should be. Probably should be a little bit more hard ass like my boy Brett. Just kidding. But, I would say that's my third mistake. I think it could be definitely doing better, in that aspect.
Joe, thanks for sharing.
Sure.
I do want to flip it over to Brett, because you mentioned how kind of like being a little slow to fire. And I know that Brett struggled when building his team a little bit with trying to put the right recipes together, the right, culture together. So
Mm-hmm.
Brett, can you talk about your early days on, building a team out of necessity, or was it a well thought out roadmap?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably one of the big things that consistently I see. There's a lot of people who want to start a team and fail at it. And I think, one of the first challenges is one is starting a team for the wrong reasons. Like, you can't just add bodies and say, hey, I want to have a real estate team because I want to have a team and I want to grow this thing. You really have to be generating more than enough business for yourself, right? And be a rainmaker. And so I think the one common denominator, and we'll hear from Nicole in a minute, but with Joe and Eric, Joe was farming, Eric was digital marketing. They developed a level of mastery in generating leads. And then in so doing, got to the point where, oh my God, I got so many leads, I need help.
Yeah.
But so the first mistake, I think, is the people starting and wanting to add agents before they really have something to offer. But the second would probably be, really when they go to make that first hire for a buyer specialist, usually what it is, it's a listing agent. He gets too busy. He's got all these buyer leads coming in, and he's like, you're at the coffee machine or the copy machine, and you're like, hey, somebody you kind of like in the office, and you want to come, work some of these leads and join my team. And it happens by default rather than on purpose. And so I know for me, the early days, that's exactly what happened to me. I launched our Boomtown platform. I was generating 600 buyer leads a month. I went to my broker at Intero, Brian Crane at the time. I'm like, the agents in the office. And so, we cobbled together this motley crew, which became the first iteration of the team. And it certainly wasn't without its challenges, because there was a lot of figuring out, like, okay, who's going to really produce here? And so you waste a lot of leads and a lot of opportunity if you don't know what to look for in the right agents as you start. So it took literally 2 years, I think, of like trial and error to really figure out like which guys or gals are going to be successful if I bring them into a team environment and put deals in their hands. And what I noticed is it's agents that have done some deals on their own already, right? So they know what it takes to generate a lead, and they will appreciate that lead that you put in their hands, as opposed to somebody who's brand new and you get them to 20 transactions in a year and they think, well, I got this thing dialed, and then they go off on their own and they do 4 deals in a year. We've seen that happen before. But somebody who's done some deals on their own, they know how to work with a client. Number 2, they've had some success in sales in the past, whether it be real estate or otherwise. So they know how to sell. And then the third thing I would say is they want to grow, because, Eric and Joe and myself can probably tell you, and Nicole as well, that real estate teams are, they're dynamic environments, and you got to learn systems and you got to learn scripts, and things are changing, and you need people who want to grow and are resilient. So I think it's, starting too soon, not having leads to give in the second, not being purposeful about the right kind of person. You want those agents who have some experience, that want to grow, and then have some experience in sales. Those would be the main things, I think, the early stages that come to mind for me.
Great, thank you. Nicole, how about you? What
So
would you tell your younger self when you started growing your team, and what were those mistakes so we can all learn from them?
I would tell my younger self to call Brett and learn from his mistakes, because we kind of lived a parallel universe for a while, it seems. But the biggest mistake that I made is I started a team without a plan in place, without the systems, without the infrastructure, without having a belief system in place, without core values, without all of the things that we have today that make us as successful as we are. It's really hard to claw back and go back and establish those things. It's, you just work twice as hard when you have people that are already in place wondering, what the hell is she doing right now? Like, why did I join her team? So I would say set up your system, set up your infrastructure. Don't do it for the wrong reason, like what Brett said. If you're adding to your team just because you're too busy to take on the leads, or you just want to pass things on and you don't have the tools, you don't have the reason why, you don't want to support people and really be there for them, you just want to make more money off of them. I think that's probably the biggest reason that I see teams fail. I personally didn't have that, mindset when I started my team, but I do think that's probably one of the biggest reasons that teams fail in general, because people go into it with the wrong mindset and the wrong belief systems.
Yeah, I'd echo that a bit. Like I remember I was in Gary Keller's mastermind for a couple of years, and he came in one time and talking to the group about teams that were going through these, like, they grow and they'd contract, or they'd build up and then they'd collapse a little bit. And he was talking about what it takes to build a sustainable team. He said, like, for all you team leads out there, he's like, a lot of you, you want to, hire people, pay them as little as possible, take all the credit. And he's like, you expect talented people to stay, you aren't going to get talented people to stay, but you want talented people, because those are the people who are going to create sustainability and stability in your business long term. I know, Joe, like you've got a pretty dial, although your team's it's medium in size. Your agents have been with you a while?
Yeah, Mary Lou's been with me 5 years, and but most of them, stay a long time. I think I do a pretty good job of, team retention. And part of that is, I think we all run our teams different, but I definitely, brand them, I put it out there, what they're doing in terms of, volume with me. I give them half the credit, even if it's, my origination, because, I don't believe in keeping anyone in a cave or in the dark. Eventually they're going to go. And I think there's something, to be said about that too, that, leaders create leaders. So definitely all about it. I think holding someone back is, for me, it's not good. Show them all the secrets, show them, what, what to do, what I'm doing to get business, and how eventually, they can get it on their own. And, I think, what you said earlier is, definitely most true is, when you start a team is because, you have so much to offer. And when I'm talking about offer is I'm talking about business, right? Because we're looking for people that can close. You're trading hard work for closers, and they, need to sharpen their skills. Of course, you give a mentorship and, things, but ideally, I think that's when you start a team, when you got more business than you can close, and you want to focus your time on, lead generation. If that's listings, that's what it is. But I think the mentality is always very wrong with, I see some people that, they want to be the next Eric, they want to be the next Brett, they want to be the next, Joe, et cetera. And they, hey, let's start a team. But, number one, they don't got any kind of listing pool, and they don't have any opportunity. And they've, it's like, why would someone go work for them when they can just work directly for the brokerage and get a higher split? It has to come in with a trade, and that trade has to be hard work for lead generation and a combination of heavy, mentorship. I think that, anybody, we all sign up at times, to go to a gym class, and I, spoke to, about this before. And, the secret to staying fit, is eating well and doing exercise. It's really not a secret. A lot of top agents, they want to hoard their secrets. They're not telling anybody, but it's just like working out. Tell them that you do 1,000 squats a day to get that nice butt. Tell them that you do 1,500 sit-ups to get that six pack, and that you only eat for fuel, not taste. Tell them, see if they do it. Tell them what it takes.
Yeah,
Eric
I would
doesn't
add to that, Joe. Hard work is really the ultimate. Like, when people ask, well, how you're successful, it's like, well, I'm just the first one at the office in the morning and the last one to leave, and you do that for 15 plus years. Try to recreate that. And I think the really important takeaway is that if you can't offer, I feel every agent I bring on the team, they get way more out of me than I get out of them. And I think it should be that way. They should be getting more. And there are no secrets in this business other than hard work in my book, because what works yesterday doesn't work for today, in a sense, especially when it comes to lead generation, because all these people focus on it, and then that gets utilized, and then you have to find a new source, and it's a never-ending job.
Yeah, you got it. And people ask me all the time where they think it's a secret. I have no, I don't know sharing exactly what I do, because I think, and I know all you guys can, agree with me on this panel. You can teach anybody this business, but I don't think you can teach a hard work ethic. You're born with it, and that's really, what I feel is the secret to my success is, like, I work hard and I call people back. Try that. 80% of unfortunately, of our industry doesn't do that. Do it and see how far, you get, and I think, I, again, related to working out, because it's not a secret to stay fit. It's not, it's like, nobody wants to door knock. Nobody wants to spend 100,000 on Zillow. Nobody wants to, have so many people say no to them. They come to the office and play Scrabble and, hang out by the copier. That doesn't work. So it's definitely, working hard and sharing. I'm all about sharing, because, again, not everyone's going to do what you're doing, Eric or Brett. They're just not. So I let all my agents that are with me know, exactly what I do, and I try to help them in every, scenario, that I can. But that's definitely, my 2 cents about it.
Cool.
Well, thank you for that, Joe. And I appreciate all of you kind of opening up the book and saying, hey, this is it. It's not a secret. Just work hard, call people back, prospect, right? And that wanting to grow other people. I mean, that's phenomenal. You're giving your agents credit on the MLS, and that's something that's probably led to your longevity with the agents you do have on your team.
It has.
Now I kind of want to go into, okay, let's say we've got the right foundation, right? We started with an admin. We're looking for people who are hungry, not just people who don't have enough time. We're delegating responsibilities, and in Joe's case, we're shooting every horse that has a limp, and so we're moving forward. Now you have this team. How are you feeding them? Nicole, can I start off with you? What are the lead sources? How many listings did you have per month before you said, okay, I have enough opportunity to go ahead and feed a team? So what was your thoughts on that, and what sources of leads do you use?
So my lead sourcing has it's really hard to say because I'm only 6 years in the business. So in 6 years, you can imagine, 6 years ago, I moved to a brand new market, didn't know anyone, could barely pronounce the names of the cities that I worked in. So I didn't have my sphere. So I was very heavy on open houses and buying leads. That recently shifted, and I say recently, in the past 2 years. Now most of our leads come from sign calls. So signs in the ground. As a leader, you are the rainmaker. You have to make sure that you're taking care of your people, that you have enough bread to break, enough bread to go around. And without our listings, we wouldn't have the lead flow that we do right now. We also do online lead gen, and we've actually scaled back. We went from spending way too much money on online leads, Zillow, Realtor.com, just because I felt comfortable with it, because that's how I began my business. And I was really surprised to find that when we scaled that back, that the lead flow and the conversion on the sign calls and the warm leads actually went up. So I think it just really depends on where you are in your business right now and what your focus is as a team leader. As a team leader, I still focus on my listings, and that's how I'm able to provide for the leads. But if you're more of like in an operations role, team leading role, you might be looking at purchasing leads, finding out what works in your market, making sure that you're not going with something that's completely oversaturated like Zillow or Realtor.com.
Great, perfect. Joe, you mentioned that you're doing a lot of farming and not a lot of online leads. What does your lead gen system look like for your team members as far as you being able to deliver opportunity?
Yeah, sure. So I just been, farming, certain neighborhoods for, the last 10 years actually, since 2009, which is a, small pocket in Mountain View, Palo Alto, Los Altos Country Club, Morgan Hill, just because I live there, and Cambrian area. So that's, I just send out a mailer, nothing fancy. It's like people go, what does your mailer look like? It's just like working out. Why don't you just try running, anything, just do some exercise and it'll work. So it's nothing fancy at all. It just lets them know what their homes are worth and what they sold for. Send that out every 2 weeks. I send it first class with a, it's on an envelope that looks like it's handwritten, because it's like a text message. People open it as opposed to a postcard. So it's just an old school method. I know it's expensive. I know I could probably do better in Zillow or whatever, but it works for me. And that's one of the lead generation sources. Being a developer builder, I'm constantly looking also for opportunity, and I can't buy all the properties, but different agents bring me opportunity, and I let them dual represent the listing. Sometimes we co-list it on the way out, or they're just deal finders, and I buy that property for myself or under a different development groups that I partner with. And those properties are all great cities, great schools: Palo Alto, Los Altos, Woodside. I've got 3 of them going here on the corner of Los Gatos on Union and Blossom Hill. And those sign calls are super important. So I just kind of pass them on from one agent. That agent don't answer, I send it to the next agent. But from the new construction that I do, it generates a lot from coming soon. And also just from the, from the sign. In addition to, I put that information out on my neighborhood update, and, clients call, even if it's an area in Morgan Hill, they may have a friend in Los Gatos that wants to buy. And then I, refer that out also to, my buyer's agent. So, and then my circle of influence, send out a newsletter, once a month. It always seems like it always generates 2-3 leads. Every time I send that out, I'm pretty consistent with that. That's digital, so I don't send that out by mail. And if it's a buyer, unless it's a personal friend or close client, I have my agents work on it. So it's really simple. My business plan is just those 3. I don't really do anything else. Oh yeah, if I have a really hot property and I got 5+ offers, I'll send a postcard out that says 4 buyers looking to get into your neighborhood. Do you know anybody that wants to buy? So I'll do that on a really hot sale. I'll send it that postcard, and it does also generate lead opportunity. So if it's a buyer, again, I refer it out. If it's a listing, then I do it myself. But those are the 3 things that I'm doing to generate leads, and it's enough for me. I don't really want to be bigger than I am right now. I want to add on another agent, to take it up to 3. That's usually what I have: 3 agents and 1 full-time assistant. Right now I have 2 agents and 1 assistant. Definitely, I have a little bit, not, bragging here, but I got about 110 brand new constructions listings coming on for 2021. So I'm going to definitely need the help.
Awesome. That's great.
That'll be enough to feed your team right there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Right. for those of you on the call looking to make a switch.
But whatever, yeah.
Brett, how about you?
Yeah, so I mean, leads are definitely a key thing to when you're building a team, right? To make sure that you've got a value proposition that makes it durable and sustainable. I've been in the business 12 years. Wasn't a real farmer. We've done a fair amount of listings, but mostly our listings we've generated from sphere of influence and digital marketing that we've done more like Eric. So listings become a lead source, the signed calls and the inquiries that come off of those. We've done a lot of digital marketing. We've experimented with pay-per-click, realtor.com, Zillow. We've been on Zillow for a number of years and as a paid advertiser. But Zillow's been the best for us on the buyer side because those, as we compared a number of different sources, and that was just the highest converting quality lead source. And we would get, about a 4-to-1 ROI on Zillow, which is, effectively like a 25% referral fee. Zillow, however, is changing their model. So they're pivoting and now working off of they're partnering with agents and top producing agents and teams. And we were just recently selected for that opportunity. So we're now in a formal partnership with Zillow, and it's called Flex. And the difference that we're seeing there is, we were spending $30,000 a month for a couple hundred leads a month on Zillow before, and we were getting about 60 phone calls a month. Now we're getting about close to 200. So
125.
What's that?
225 calls a month.
225. So the number of opportunities has increased and the quality of opportunities.
225, sorry about that. 225 calls a month, $30,000?
No, we were spending before, when we were doing market-based pricing, where we were paying for leads up front, we were spending $30,000 a month. We were getting 180 leads a month. 60 of those 180 were inbound calls. Okay? Now that we switched to the partnership model, we've gone from 60 inbound calls a month to 225. So all that means is it's, the inbound, somebody who's calling and saying, hey, I want to see this property. Like, can I get in there? Can I see it? Like, or, I want to talk to somebody about selling my house. The inbound obviously is higher converting because those people want to do something right now. And so for us, that's been an accelerator. We're seeing agents that, been with us 90 days with 13 million in escrow and 9 deals. So that's helping give a lot of uplift.
Brett, Terrell here. Quick question.
Yeah.
Have you done, I know this flex plan is still pretty new, right? So have you done some math to figure out, just like Zillow's trying to figure out which way they make more money, right? Selling leads or collecting referral fees. Have you figured out the financial impact of your business? Like if you were paying for these?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's escalated the cost of the lead. We were at about 25, somewhere between 25 and 30%. Now, granted, to get a 25 or 30% return on Zillow, we were focused on lead conversion. We made sure our agents knew how to work a pipeline. We got a system and a process for that. All the agents, their goal is to get within their first 6 months a pipeline of 125 and no more than 125 active opportunities. Those include their sphere of influence who are thinking about buying or selling. Those are also open house leads, but an agent can't actively work more than 120 leads and stay on top of them. Because beyond that, then the conversion rate begins to drop. It's just too much to work with. So in the past, we were getting about a 25% return. We were getting a 4x return, right? Which means if we spent 30,000, we'd bring in 120,000 in GCI. But we had to be on top of it to do that. And some months that would go up or down a little bit, but it was right around. Now it's gone to 35%, but we don't pay up front. Our challenge, we're trying to grow a team and provide more opportunity for more people. It's how big do I want to carry? How big of an advertising budget do I want to carry to feed my people? If the market contracts and I'm spending $100,000 a month on my Amex, and we get a big dip like we had in the fourth quarter of 2018 or something, that becomes a challenge. So with the partnership with Zillow, we have scalability now. So we're adding partners and agents.
Brett, did you notice, the lead flow from Premier anyways was getting to a point where it was just not, the quality of the lead was getting to a point it was horrible anyway. So you were paying for something that was not even, it wasn't worth the conversion rate that they, even if you worked them hard. At least that's what we noticed the past year and a half.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a function of how, if with the quantity came the quality or not, but we were still consistently, generating a 4 to 5 to 1 ROI with Zillow, even up until the time we changed over to the Flex model. But so Flex is working for us. I do know people who do similar things with Realtor.com, and where that partnership's called OpCity. Where they're working off a referral fee model. I think that's the direction the portals are going. And so, the challenge is, if you're a team owner or a team leader and you want to use those lead sources, is there's a high degree of accountability on conversion, right? Like, so Zillow wants to look under the hood in our business. As a paying advertiser, I could say, you don't look into my CRM to see how good we're doing with converting leads. Just charge my credit card, don't mind me. But now, we have a meeting with them once a week. They're like, okay, let's look at the numbers. How are you guys doing? And I think what it will do over time, if this is the direction the portals go, it's effectively a meritocracy, right? Those people that do well and perform well are going to get rewarded. And not everybody's going to participate. I mean, Joe's farming out there and he's going to be doing fine with his business, but those people who are going to want to work online, that's coming from the portals, I think that's the direction that the industry is going. So, but that's working for us. What else are we doing? Farming, we're doing some farming as well. Most of the farming we do is what I'd call event-based farming. It is, we get a listing and then we're going to drop 300 just listed, 300 pending sale, and then post-closing 300 letters in a handwritten envelope, like Joe mentioned, about, hey, we sold this home with 5 offers and we have 4 other buyers looking, And so to make that more predictable, that opportunity, we've systemized that so that our agents on the team or our partners can launch those marketing campaigns just when they take their listing. So, but those are working well to help generate additional, listing leads and opportunities. So mostly online, and then direct mail is what's working for us.
Great, thank you. Eric, how about you? What are you using to kind of feed your team opportunity?
That's great. It's interesting. We are seeing a real change, and it's always been this case where you're either paying up front or paying in the rear. We're seeing that a lot. I mean, most of the
rear or in arrears.
Yes.
Was that a pun, or was that intentional?
So, I mean, think of it this way. If you're paying 35, 40%, I mean, some of the companies want up to 50%, and you're like, okay, does that even make sense? So there's a certain point where I look at it, well, what do I need to do to combat this? And most of it is building a bigger digital farm, because, the mailing is becoming less and less effective. Okay. For every person that calls me on those mailings, I get 5 calls of people like, don't ever put this on my doorstep again, And I think, really the future will be being able to get to the right people at the right time. So our digital farm is pretty massive. It's about 500,000. So over the valley. And what we do is we actually give them very small slices of data based on based on their actions. So if they click on something, we start with a very light drip, a market report every 6 months, and just see what happens. And then it gets automated to bring it down as we see them interacting. It is as much of a branding tool as a lead tool, but the reality is it costs me nothing, actually, once you've built that up. And then I'm working with a data company now where we're actually slicing and dicing the data so we can get to people earlier, because we know certain people who are going to sell. And there's been a bunch of companies out there who've tried to do this, but we're now finally there. I mean, the data's there. We know when people have liquidity events. We know Snowflake went public, and we pull all the data of every person that works at Snowflake, and we say, hey, where are your Snowflake representatives? Are you looking to buy, sell, are looking to move up? So we're really focused mostly on the data. And, do we still do the traditional mailings? We do some small mailings, but less and less of them. Do we do a lot with Zillow? Less and less. Do we do a lot with a lot of third-party intermediaries, the home lights, the lead aggregators? And we definitely use them. I mean, we have, I think, something like 100 lead sources, and then we have 250 landing pages. We're building up to, you know, hopefully within the next 2 years, I plan that to be 2,000. And for each neighborhood, very specific micro, I mean, down to, you know, each condo complex and each townhouse complex in the valley. And, you know, I think the thing is you can never, you know, the way I've always believed is if you overwhelm the web, you always will win. And if you overwhelm search, you're not going to win in San Jose real estate, but you'll win in, you know, let's say a neighborhood like Palm Haven in Willow Glen. You can, you know, run two little landing pages there, and you're going to be in the top 3. Okay. So that's my take, is really focus on the future and try to get in front of other lead aggregators and other sources that are trying to intermediate us. And that's really what's going to happen. I mean, the real estate industry is, you know, and Brett, we've talked about this a lot. The low end is going to get cannibalized. So we have to figure out, like, every year, focus on getting carrying our average price point up higher, not just from economics, but from, you know, the pure fact that if we aren't, we will start to shrink. And I think that is kind of my main focus now, is how do I get, you know, my average price point from 1.5 to 2, and how do I get it to 2.5? And this isn't based on the growth of the housing market, but it's based on the growth of our team. And so that's really where I'm focused. And I think Compass has been really helpful in that sense, because, you know, as much as I believe brand doesn't matter, you want a brand that actually helps elevate your brand. And I think that's a crucial point, because I think a lot of people, especially in the luxury side, they really do care what signs in their front yard. They actually care. A lot. So I think, you know, you want to find what works and what numbers are going to make the most, you know, most important to you. But that's, for me, my main focus over the next few years, is really just carrying my average price point up and looking at other lead sources that keep the intermediators out of my business.
Awesome. Thank you.
I learned a lot right now from Eric, man. You're like the Bill Gates right now of real estate, dude. That was some awesome shit you just shared.
No, thank you for sharing that. I think, yeah, we're all very appreciative of that.
Very good.
So I've got like one final question for this panel, because we've talked about the mistakes making when you're growing a team. We've talked about the sources of leads you need to feed your team. Now let's answer the question, what's the secret to finding, attracting, and retaining quality team members? So, Joe, why don't you go ahead and start? Like, what's your secret to kind of keeping that culture and attracting and retaining your high quality teammates?
Yeah, so, you know, again, you know, I think I'm, you know, Mr. Simpleton when it comes, you know, to that. I don't really probably, you know, put in the effort. You know, just, again, really impressed with what Eric, all the information Eric shared, and what he, you know, what he's doing in his business. It's phenomenal. You know, for me, again, you know, keep it simple. I, you know, let top loan officers know that I'm looking. I let, you know, my sales reps title know, you know, that I'm looking. So it's more organic, you know, when I'm looking for someone, again, because I've never, you know, I know some people think I have a really huge team. I don't. I've never really had more than 4 agents max that, you know, that work for me. Right now I have 2. But it's just really organic, just letting, you know, branch managers know, title companies know, you know, someone that's selling, you know, home warranties know, hey, I'm looking for, you know, for someone. And I'm not really looking for a top agent myself, because a top agent's not going to come work for you. This is never going to happen. I'm just looking for agents that already know how to drive, and I just show them how to get there faster and, you know, put their career on steroids. Because, you know, telling someone to, you know, put it in, you know, neutral or drive, or, hey, you got to, you know, make a right to go here. I'm going to go insane. You know, I don't really have that time or patience. I just, at the point I'm at my career, maybe I'm just getting old, but I won't do it anymore. You know, I'll pass on that. Really, for me, it's just having someone that, you know, that I'm going to sharpen. You know, they present themselves well, but I'm going to make them look memorable. and I'm going to put them in front of great opportunity, and I'm going to get them to have the confidence they have, like they've been there before, and act as if, so that's, what I do, and very transparent, during the interview process of what I do, to retain them. And again, it's, branding with them. I'm not one to say, oh, it's, whether it's my listing or theirs. Well, all my listings are just, under my name, but if it's their listings, we, put both of us on the branding, both of us split the costs, et cetera. It's more of a, partnership, situation that I have. But my team, again, is more of a boutique, small feel, than it is on a grand scale. I really don't want to be, again, I have right now, 35% of my personal income is coming from being a developer, being a developer, and the other 70% is coming from, being an agent. And I like that mix. Definitely have a passion for real estate. I love it. Absolutely love, selling property, make more money being a developer, but, you got to do what you love. And I still love, that first time home buyer, or that seller that is 65 and retiring empty nester and is going to travel the world. Those stories are really interesting to me. When someone's selling a $10 million home, it's like, where are you going? You'd be surprised that they're buying an RV and going to every, baseball stadium for the next, year. I think those stories are amazing. I just like hearing that. And the fact that we're able to meet so many intellectual people, when you're selling, all different types, from middle to high end. You'd be surprised some of the people that are very wealthy and live in a modest home, but being able to interact with them, like I'm interacting right now with, with these top 3 panelists, that intellectual capital, to me, it's super valuable. I get a lot of motivation, from that. And as well as when I see an agent leave, an agent that's been working for me for a while, and, they're ready to leave the nest and, go on their own. I'm their biggest cheerleader. I have a great relationship with, Rusty, Lex, Elena, who, recently, branched out on her own. I'm really happy and, proud of her. She's, had a killer year. And, hopefully, we work on some deals together in the future, and I have, with all of them. So, the key for me is constantly educating, showing them, what I do, letting them know about panels like that we're on right now, because we all have different styles, trades, and we all look at things differently. I love Eric's, hustle, and Brett's. I don't think I would do what Eric is doing, because it's just, for me, it would be so time consuming. I'm usually out on my mountain bike having some fun and trying to just, I'm happy with my 50 deals, but when I hear him talking, I'm like, oh my God, I need to do that. But I know the effort that it takes, and it's like kind of what we talked about, doing the 1,500 sit-ups. I'm not going to do it, but I'm gonna keep it thin. I'm gonna eat well, but I ain't gonna do what Eric does, because that's a damn lot of work. And hats off to you, man. That is awesome, and it's why you have the success that you have. So it's impressive to hear.
Yeah, Eric, how about you? What's your secret with attracting, finding, and retaining your team members? Because your team's a little bit bigger.
Yeah, well, I think it's, what Brett was saying earlier, this kind of iteration of a team and a brokerage. Not part of the agents we have on our team are kind of core agents, and then there's agents who are kind of ancillary, in the sense that they work really specific areas and we give them business. But we do have kind of a 2-tiered system, some who work underneath us and some who work autonomous of us. And I think that is really the future, is exactly what Brett was talking about with his team. Is you have some who, you provide the tools, you provide the tech, you provide them the Compass umbrella. And then there's other ones who literally, we work transactions together. And I know, like Darcy or Bobby or certain agents on our team, I can just, hand off the business, meet the client, hand off the listing, and let them take it. And a lot of times in the past, I would say year, I've let more and more of the agents have more control over their own brands too. Give them the chance to help grow themselves. A lot of the, let them have their own Yelp page, let them build their own personal identity. And I think that's important, because people going into real estate, I mean, they go in there for, one of the main reasons is to be autonomous in a way. So I'm not, if you want an accountability coach, I'm not the one, is what I'm saying. Typically, if they, pop on the meetings, which we have, usually once a week, and then sometimes we'll have a little tech talk once a week. They're short, agents can pop on. Retaining I think retaining is all about the culture. It's always the culture. So, sometimes we had I think we made a mistake a year ago to merge a team under our team, thinking, oh, this is going to be great. We'll be a mega team and this is going to be amazing. And all of a sudden the culture turned, wow, horrible. Okay. It was, Brett knows, you might know the team that I merged underneath us, and they're saying one thing and doing another. So what I found is you really do have to think about each person you bring on. I try to find people who there isn't a lot of overlap. They're different skill sets. Maybe they speak a different language. Maybe they work a different area. I don't like a lot of overlap, and I think that's the other key. It's like, you don't want a fraternity, like the sororities and fraternities where everybody's the same is the opposite of what I want for my team. I want a very diverse team with different skill sets. And I think that is really what you do. And that's how you retain your team. It has to be, in a sense, a motley crew. Okay.
I love it. You talked about culture, and Nicole, I'm kind of circling back to our first question, and you talked a little bit about mindset, and when you're adding people or growing people, there's a certain mindset that goes with it. So tell me a little bit about how your culture impacts you for finding, attracting, and retaining your team.
Yeah, I think the latter part is far more important than the former. So, attracting and recruiting is one thing, but when you get a solid team in place, the most important thing to do is to be able to retain them, however that looks. Like Brett, we have kind of a team ridge model, which is awesome because, sometimes these agents do outgrow that buyer agent role and they want to leave. And instead of them leaving, we've created an opportunity where they can stay with us and they still have, the umbrella of the company resources. They have a different split, but they're just not provided the same leads. So we're able to keep top producing agents that, came to us, didn't really know, like Joe was saying earlier, they knew how to drive. We just had to figure out how to teach them to drive faster to get there safely, do everything the right way, be the GPS. Those agents eventually, keep in mind some will want to move on. And so we have that brokerage model. And then as far as culture, we are very selective about who we bring on because we have had really bad hires that's really spoiled the company culture. And it's really easy to not realize that in the moment. And when that bad grape leaves, like you realize, oh my gosh, everything is so much better without that one person spoiling everything. So I don't know if anybody has heard of the book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, but I kind of live by that as far as how we build our culture. And we want to make sure that everyone has the same belief systems. So we have our company core values. We share those core values, not just with the team internally. We have them posted on the wall. Everybody has them in their cubicle, but we also share them with our clients. So they know like what we embody as human beings, but also, the way that we do business. Going back to the 5 dysfunctions of a team. Let me see if I can remember all 5 of them. They talk about absence of trust, that's amongst each other. And, as a leader, you need to be able to communicate and they need to trust that you are leading them in the right direction, that the GPS isn't broken or doesn't need an update. The fear of conflict, we want everybody to feel safe in the environment that they're working in. The next one is the lack of commitment from each other. I know we've all been in that situation where we're all working a million miles a minute. Eric's first in, last out. Everybody's got escrows, and then there's that one guy or girl that just doesn't show up. Yeah. So lack of commitment on their part, which is the next one is, avoidance of accountability, holding each other accountable. I actually have my team hold me accountable just as much as I hold them accountable. I know, Joe, you said that you're not ready to be an accountability partner, but we look at it more as just, we go through these stages of discomfort as we grow, and it's really easy to get through the discomfort. The only way out is through, right? It's really easy to do that when you have somebody going through it with you, or someone that's already been there. So we love the accountability piece of it. And then paying attention to the results, right? It's like what's working, more importantly, what's not working. So I live by that book as far as, culture.
Great, thank you. Brett, as someone who has been here for the last year with you, and we've grown our own Team Ridge by 3x. I'd love to, I think everyone would love to hear from you too. What are your secrets as well?
Yeah, I think it starts with two things. I was gonna say it starts with one thing. It starts with like knowing what are you gonna bring, what value are you gonna deliver, right? In the person you're gonna want to attract. So what's your value proposition gonna be about your team? And people aren't just there to make money, right? They are there because people don't just want to have like grind, and they want to have an awesome life. And so we, at least for the agents that we wanted to partner with, the second part of it was like identifying who do you want to attract. So what's your core value proposition and who do you want to attract? And when we looked at it, and after banging my head against the wall a while, I realized that it's the agents that have been in the business for at least 2 years, right? They've done some deals, so they have some transactional chops. That was who we wanted to attract. I found the most successful agents that would come into our environment were agents that wanted to grow. Like they leaned into training, they leaned into coaching, they leaned into accountability. Those are the things that they really liked. I remember in the first iteration of a team I had, there was an older gentleman, really irrelevant that he was older, but I remember, he was with us about a year, and he was mid-level in his production. He wanted to do more. And we did this one session. We're like, hey, well, let's do some role plays. Let's role play for the listing presentation or what it was. And we got 5 minutes into it. And he's like, this is just dumb. I don't need to do this, and that was the end of our relationship. And I just recognized that's how we came up with core values. And one of our core values is that we're growth minded, but it is, when you're building a team, you want to get clear on what those core values are, what your value proposition is. In fact, there's an exercise that I'll challenge all of you to check out or do. In fact, I did a session on it recently on a forum for a bunch of other agents. And so I'll share it with you, but it's really about doing a one-page business plan, because it helps you get clear on what your values are, what your vision is for your company. And it forces you to look like into the future a little bit. Like, hey, if things go really well here, what's it going to be? Like, I honestly had a hard time thinking, well, do I want to be in real estate in 10 years? But I had to put something down. And that really helped us clarify and get clear on who we wanted to be. And that was, we wanted to create an environment where people could have an awesome business and an awesome life. But it does require accountability. And that's one thing that, we know agents come to the business for freedom and unlimited potential, but it does require accountability, at least self-accountability, because you got to do, like Joe was talking about, the 1,500 sit-ups to get the six-pack abs, or, you got to prospect. You want to make 500 grand a year in real estate? It's pretty simple. You prospect an hour a day and you do lead follow-up an hour a day. Where you get those leads from, and what systems you use could vary, but that's a foundational thing. But coming back to finding talent, when I thought, hey, we want people who want to learn and grow, it really put me in a position where, okay, then I need to put some content out there that's helpful for people who want to learn and grow. So for those of you guys who are wanting to grow teams, like, you're on this learning about teams. So you're obviously already learning base, but I want to point out in closing, because we do have just a minute left here, some free resources that we can share, because this is how we are attracting agents to our teams and both our Team Ridge. We have this website, which I'll drop into the chat box here, or Lauren, if you can drop it in, it's be a real expert. But it's got, we profile, we do panels, like we did one last week with 8 agents crushing online leads from different areas. If you're serious about building a team, you'll want to do the exercise of building a one-page business plan. And this was a session, it's a 30-minute session about how to double your business year over year by using this plan. So I'd encourage you to check that one out if you're serious about that. And then on an ongoing basis, we do masterminds on a monthly basis, I'm sorry. So we'll host events like these, and this becomes kind of our audience from which we know people will like us, trust us, because we're putting out content. And from a digital marketing perspective, I know Eric does digital marketing, and that's kind of been our formula for reaching out to our clients and consumers as well. Let's get market updates and content out there to put good content out there in front of your audience to see who engages with it, look to deliver value. And the people who respond to that are going to be the people, who really are going to be good candidates for you to engage with. And then as far as, so that's attracting the talent. Retaining, it is a culture piece, and you got to be the kind of person that other people want to be around. You got to build an environment that, we like to say, one of our things in our mission statement is we are a business family, not a family business, and what does that mean? But we're going to spend the majority of our life, right? Our waking hours, at least, working in with our peers. And we want to have an environment that is cool with people to hang out with. And so work hard, play hard. It's kind of our thing. But I think the other last piece of it is you do want to, I don't think it was Joe or someone mentioned hire slowly and fire quickly. So once you recognize somebody's not it and you've given them a chance to up their production or whatever it might be, once somebody shows you who they are, believe them, I guess is the gist of it. I know I've made that mistake where I kind of like somebody wasn't quite the right fit. But usually what we find now is we just have an accountability conversation about like, hey, are you happy with your production? Because chances are, if you're not happy with their production, they're not happy with it. And then give them a specific productivity improvement plan. Like, hey, here's what I need you to do. Come in and you can call into our fishing pond, which is like this database of archive old leads. Do that for 2 hours a day for 2 weeks and see if that turns things around. And if they're not willing to do what it takes, then oftentimes they'll just self-select and they'll bow out and say, hey, thanks, but this is not, quite the right thing. So that's what we're doing. In wrapping up, I want to thank Lauren for hosting, and Joe and Eric as our panelists, and Nicole for sharing your knowledge and wisdom today. One of the things that we do is, one of the things that I've done is I do make time for aspiring team leaders that want to grow and that want to build their teams. And I will make myself available. I can only do it for a limited number of people. But I don't know if Eric, Joe, or Nicole, if any of you guys are open to having a conversation with any aspiring team leaders, just, whether it's a virtual coffee chat or what have you. But we here at Real Estate Experts, I will make that opportunity available. And if you want to do that, in the chat box, here is a link to an application for our mastermind group. And so fill that out so we can get some idea about where you are in your production. And Eric, and if you, in the notes there, if you'd like to connect with Eric, Joe, or Nicole, or myself, we can, those of us who are available will make time for you. I certainly will.
Yes, definitely can as well.
I will as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so put your information in there, and it asks a few questions about where you are in your production and where you're struggling, and where you want to go, and then let us know who you want to connect with, and we'll make sure that we get you guys connected. But any final thoughts in closing or anything from you, Eric, or you, Joe? I want to thank you guys for taking the time.
Yeah, I just have one question for each of you. Just curiosity for me here in 2020. In less than 60 seconds, what would you guys say your number one source of seller leads has been? Starting with you, Brett.
Direct mail, specifically. Specifically letters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's been our spear for us, and it's just really actually reaching out to them, and that's just knowing when to reach out to them pretty much.
And I gotta give myself like not a pat on the back, but a knock on the head, because that's one I haven't done. The letter campaign I'm doing to the cold market, I haven't done to my sphere, which would really make sense. So thanks for
I've had the same problem, Brett. Sometimes you focus so much on the team, you forget about your own sphere that you've built up to actually feed the team. So
yeah.
So Eric, you said sphere, and then mail for you, Brett, this year.
Direct mail, yeah.
And then what about Sorry about that. I can't see the third panelist right now. I'm on.
Nicole, I'm not sure. She may have had, oh, there she is. Nicole, what's been the best?
There she is, Nicole. Sorry, I didn't have it on the right view. Nicole, what would be your single most successful lead generation source this year, 2020?
This year, I'm proud to say it's been past client referrals. We are about 37% the last time I looked, past client referrals.
That's
from
awesome.
and buyers.
Yeah, for me too. It's
on them, like Brett was saying, we do our sphere of influence. I do the monthly letter we do a letter, direct to everyone that we've sold a home to that we would want to do business with again. And that's really helpful for staying in front of them.
Yeah, for me too. It's been definitely this year. It's been a repeat business and sphere. I think, and I think I'm not sure which one of the panelists was talking about how we sometimes morph into a team or a listing agent or a buyer's agent, whatever it is. Sometimes we morph into something. Earlier in March, I think us that are on the Briante mastermind group, we talked about it, Kathy and Brett. I was one that felt like, the sky was falling, might not be putting it out there, but, scared during, the whole COVID of the first 2 weeks when we got shut down, like what the heck's going on, right? So, freaked out a little bit. So I, went from my marketing budget of what I was spending on mailers to, less touches, and I dropped it down about 2/3. But I focused very, very hard on touching, on reaching out, to clients and, past clientele and friends, family, network. And, this year, I think we're like at 63 deals that we closed, 93 million, and only 20 million, 6 deals have come from actually direct mail. It's the lowest that I've had. Usually I'm at about 50-50, but I'm so focused on mailing and never that focused on calling who I've closed in the past, just touching them very so often with the, email newsletter, not necessarily, calling. And I think that's so powerful. And as, as an agent, an experienced agent, we forget, but yeah, it's been my, number one source, and that includes also the 2 agents that are with me right now. When I look at, where everything got sourced from, out of that, we've only had 6 deals that have come from, marketing. And then I think like another 8 from open houses. Everything else has been sphere.
Awesome.
Yeah, good to hear.
Yeah. Well, Lauren, you want to say anything to wrap it up?
Oh, I want to thank everybody for joining. We've got a couple links in the chat. I put a link to the book that Nicole referenced there. We've got the Thrive Through the Shift link for if you wanted to get a business consulting session with either Brett or Joe or Eric or Nicole. We also have, I put a link to the one-page strategic plan session that Brett had done. And one more question we've got from Melanie, and this is to everyone. What are you feeling about email videos versus letters for monthly farming? So if we can get a quick pulse from the panelists on that, I think we'll be good to wrap.
I think you should do both. It's too easy to delete email. People only read 20% of their emails. I do video email updates, and it's great if you have a database that's big enough. So like, for example, I sent one out to 12,000 and we had, I think, like 1,900 opens, but there's only 150 people who actually clicked on the links about like buying or selling, but those people are the ones I'm going to follow up with. But that's a big list. So I would do both. I would do both digital and print if it's your sphere.
Awesome. Joe, Eric, Nicole, any different, or do you agree?
I agree with Brett. I would say, email is always, you always want to follow up with a phone call. Whatever you get, the emails actually just let you know someone's partially interested, and then it's time to actually make that phone call. And typically, if I'm trying to track someone down, I text them, say, hey, would it be, I'd love to connect with you or something like that. But typically emails are really just for follow-up for us, and mostly it works more as a branding tool than a marketing tool in the sense of lead generation. It's a branding that then brings people in over time. So it's a slower process.
Great. Perfect.
For myself, do any in terms of market update videos on social media or anything like that. I see a lot of agents do them, and some do a great job. Some like probably shouldn't have done them, but and I every month I send out a newsletter that has market updates in 3 different counties: San Francisco County, San Mateo County, and Santa Clara County. And I give them, all the facts, from, Compass Experts, chief financialists. So it comes from a very well reputable source. I usually get a few calls on that and have conversations with, with my clients where the, where the market is at. But I feel like, because I try to make every opportunity, that I engage with someone, whether they're a seller or buyer, that there's some, that there's some value there. And what I mean by that is, I know that 99.9% of text messages are open. And, when I'm trying to put a deal together and present an offer to a seller, it has to make sense to the seller, the seller's agent, and it has to make sense to everybody for that deal to go down. Well, I feel the same thing kind of with emails. Like when I'm sending an email, I'm thinking, would I open that email? I mean, I delete so many every morning. The very first thing I do is, as soon as I wake up, is delete email, so I don't send this mass email out. It's, I got a little bit over 6,000 folks that are on my email list, but I've done business with them in some way, shape, or form, whether they're a past buyer, seller, or agent. I send that, they're on my newsletter. And that's who gets an update, but it's done on it's a report for those 3 counties once a month.
Great. Thank you all.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, everyone. Again, you've got some links in the chat. So thanks for joining today. And we will post a recap of this on the Be a Real Expert blog as well. So thanks again.